Welcome to Backseat Directing.
Where we talk about movies, TV shows, comics, and more.
We're your hosts,
Andrew.
and Aaron.
And today we are going to talk about some of the upcoming projects that we are most excited to see.
All right, Andrew, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing today?
Fantastic. I got some things that I'm looking forward to. What about you?
Oh, I am incredibly excited for some things.
Things.
Let's talk about some things. The first thing that I want to talk about is something I've been getting increasingly more excited to discuss lately, which is the Hogwarts Legacy video game taking place in J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter universe. So this game is set to be released on February 10th, 2023, so the beginning of next year, and that date was just recently changed to be pushed back, but at least we know that they're focused on putting out a good product. So they pushed back to February, but hopefully that means that they're making some necessary changes. It's going to be coming out on PlayStation, on both of the most recent generations, so not just the newest, the PS5. It'll be the same for Xbox. It'll be coming out on the Nintendo Switch and PC. This game is awesome. So the general idea of the game is that you get to step into the shoes of a Hogwarts student, something that I've wanted to do since I was a little kid. Reading the books when I was in elementary school, I had so much fun reading those books and watching the movies as they came out. And to get to actually design an avatar, which you get to do in this game, you can make a character look like yourself and then pick your house and experience what it's like to go to school at Hogwarts.
That's a cool aspect of it, that you get to make the character look however you want, whether it's the way that you look yourself or maybe the way that you imagine these characters looking. That's cool.
You really get to be in the shoes of the character that way. It's more immersive. It's a brilliant idea. And it's a brilliant idea because of what I said, that kids are enthralled by the magic of this story, getting to get their own wand and the idea of having your own broomstick and casting spells. So this game, the general story is that you're in, and here's everything that I know about it so far. So you're in Hogwarts in the 1800s, so it's predating Voldemort and Harry Potter, this whole story, and there is some kind of secret plot mystery going on that you have to unfurl. There is something involving the goblins, and you're trying to unfurl this mystery, but your character's entering Hogwarts late as a fifth year. You have some kind of special connection with ancient magic artifacts that's not fully understood at the beginning of the story. So there's exciting mystery element. You'll meet new friends and characters along the way. You get to explore the different common rooms of all the different houses, which is going to look great. You'll attend classes like herbology, defense against the dark arts, potions, charms, possibly even more. And there's dueling. You have combat in this game where I presume you'll have a skill tree, but you get to develop and unlock new spells throughout the game that you can use in combat. So I know for sure you'll get to use Incendio, there's Accio, Reparo, you'll get to use Stupefy and Expelliarmus. Just to explain, if you don't follow Harry Potter, what those things will allow you to do is basically shoot fireballs, stun opponents, disarm opponents, call objects to you, or move them around in the air. There's a whole host of different spells you get to use, which is exciting to me because I didn't want it to be just a button masher where you shoot out blasts of some unknown ethereal light at your opponent. So you get to do the actual spells with their actual purpose, and you'll get to not only explore Hogwarts in the 10 classes, but explore the areas surrounding Hogwarts. So potentially the Forbidden Woods, and see all kinds of beasts. You'll get to mount beasts and fly broomsticks. You'll get to see hidden mysteries within the castle, as well as areas we've already seen in the movies and areas that are new created for this story. So J.K. Rowling is not connected with this. Obviously, she designed and is the inspiration for this world, but she's not connected with this particular story. But I still think it'll be loads of fun. I'm super excited for it for all the reasons that I just talked about. But I have a quick question for you before we move on. I want to hear what your next thing is. But what house would you pick if you were playing this game? I would choose the best house there is, which is Gryffindor.
I'd probably pick the same.
Get to be a courageous hero. I mean, I see the appeal of all of them. My next pick would definitely be Slytherin.
Yeah. Did you say that this takes before or after?
Before 1800s.
Okay, that's cool. And for the Switch, is it going to be like the same game as it would be on the PlayStation or Xbox and stuff?
Yeah, so it'll be the same game on all platforms.
So I'm asking that because my wife, Brooke, she really likes Harry Potter and she kind of only plays the Switch. She doesn't play any other console. So maybe she would like enjoy this on the Switch because she doesn't play a lot of video games, but she really loves this
I
story.
think
And
she loves Harry Potter even more than I do, so I'd be excited if she played it for us to get to talk about it.
yeah, that would be really cool. And then maybe I can play it on the PlayStation. So that'd be
Yeah,
fun.
side by side.
All right, let's move on. So I have kind of a video game pick here, but it's a movie that's based off of a video game. My favorite video game, might I add. It's called Ghost of Tsushima. It follows a samurai warrior called Jim Sakai. He's the last surviving member of his clan, and then he has to fight, or he has to put aside his traditions of the samurai and kind of shape himself into a new form warrior. And uh, he's fighting to for the freedom of Tsushima, which is the island that he lives on. And this movie, or sorry, this video game was awesome. The handling of the video game was super cool. Um, you felt like a samurai warrior when you're going through, and they had a bunch of different aspects of fighting styles. You know, there's a lot of different stealth missions, and then just duels 1v1, and he had different arrows and bombs and stuff that you could throw and stuff. And that's kind of where he kind of breaks the tradition of the samurai, because the samurai were big on facing their opponents head to head, kind of declaring the battle. And he, since he's fighting this massive force of the Mongols, he has to kind of sneak around and maybe kill people in an unmoral way, based off of his traditions, you know. So it's
Kind of
cool
like
to see him kind of develop in that way in the game. So I'm excited to see how they adapt this into a movie.
kind of like the cultural difference between the ninja and the samurai.
Right, exactly. Um, this movie was kind of just announced, so we don't really have a lot of details about it. But I think it was a big success for Sony. Uh, Now the thing with games going into movies doesn't normally have a good rap. You know, a lot of video game movies don't do that well. But something that this one has going for is the director is he's a stuntman, he's stunt coordinator. He
Chad Stahelski,
Chad
the
Scalesty
man.
directed
John
John
Wick.
Wick. Yep, and he was in a bunch of other projects too. That I think at least the fight scenes are in good hands, and we'll see some good action, which was cool because the video game is pretty brutal at some points. But he also worked as a stunt coordinator for the Wolverine, the Hunger Games. He worked as a stunt coordinator for Sherlock Holmes, A Game of Shadows. Uh, so he's been in a lot of really good movies and fight scenes and stuff. So
I
at
think
least that aspect of the story is in good hands.
I think if they follow the blueprint laid out for them in the game, they have a really good backdrop to fall on. Because from what I understand, and I haven't played all the way through the games, I played it um, very slightly, but from what I understand, the story and cutscenes of that game are very, very high quality. That the action, the voice acting, the story is supposed to be very good. So they follow that backdrop. I think they've got a good architectural setup for their story.
Yeah, and the actor who voices Jin Sakai is, I don't know how to say his name.
Is Daisuke Tsuji.
Daisuke Suji.
Yeah.
Uh, he said that he would like to reprise his role, which I mean, why wouldn't you want to be in a movie?
Oh yeah.
You know, and but the obviously he's the voice, but the model of how the character looks is based right off of him, so it looks basically identical to this character. So it'd be really cool to see him come on screen and reprise that role. So that's the first project that I'm looking most forward to.
I love the shift of games towards that motion capture. Like we see it in Jedi Fallen Order. Uh, Cal Kestis is mapped off of his voice actor, who Cameron Monaghan, who I really really enjoy. And then we see it in Grand Theft Auto. The main characters are their images are derived from the actors that play them. So it creates a cool connection between the character that is being voiced and the voice actor. And I think that it's cool to see games that go in that direction more and more nowadays. I believe they do it for Last of Us as well, somewhat. But moving on to my second pick, I'm going to talk about another video game. This is a
Dun,
video
dun,
game
dun.
episode, the video game podcast. Movies, games, podcasts, and video
Comics.
games.
You said games twice.
Movies,
TV
TV
shows.
shows, comics,
Comics.
video games, and more. That's what I wanted to say. So I'm going to talk about God of War Ragnarok. So this game is set to come out in November 9th of 2022. So very soon. I'm extraordinarily excited for this game. This game is PlayStation exclusive, but from what I have researched online, it seems to be coming out on PlayStation 4 and PS5, which this is a great thing for both of the games that I've talked about, that they're giving people who can't get the PS5, which is very inaccessible, a chance to still play these games by putting them out on the previous generation, because I still only have a PS4 because I can't get a hold of a PS5.
Same.
So I would like a PS5 to play a game with this optimal quality, but I'm going to play it one way or the other. I don't want to wait. So this game, the premise is picking up a few years after the last game, God of War from 2018, left off, which we ended with Kratos discovering that his son Atreus is actually Loki, and that they're set to bring about the mythical Norse story of Ragnarok, of the apocalypse for the world. And I believe that the end of that game also shows the portrait on the wall of Kratos dying, of Atreus having to kill his father. So this game will play upon a lot of that story. If you go back to your house at the very end after beating the story of God of War 2018, you and Atreus see Thor, the mighty Thor with his Mjolnir covered in lightning, show up to your house. And so we'll get to build off of that. We'll get to see more of Thor. We'll get to see Tyr, the giant, play a bigger role in this story and not just be talked about, but be present. He is cast with a voice actor. We're going to get to see, it's confirmed we'll get to see Atreus and Kratos go across all 9 realms, where in the previous game you only had access to 6. This story will take you across all 9 realms of the known universe in Norse mythology. So this is going to be very exciting, a huge journey for both the characters. And we're going to get to see Atreus as older, more rebellious, more developed, and stronger, and his relationship with his father will likely have developed as well. So we'll see them encounter old villains like Thor and Freya will come back into the story, but we're also going to see kind of the dynamic shifting in the relationship between Atreus and Kratos, and we'll have to see the two of them decide between themselves and the rest of the world, because their lives are linked with Ragnarok and the end of the 9 realms. I am beyond excited to see these epic grand scale fights that we're likely to see, new attacks and moves, getting to fight with the Blades of Chaos and the Leviathan X again. This game is going to look beautiful. If you haven't had the chance yet, go check out the trailer they showed on YouTube with some gameplay footage in there, and it just looks fantastic. I mean, the water that they're sailing across and the backdrops and the characters, they look phenomenal.
I am excited for the sequel to one of my favorite movies. It's called Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. It's a sequel to Knives Out. I had a blast watching the first one. It was cool to see Daniel Craig in kind of a different role and kind of expanding and kind of separating himself a little bit from the James Bond character that he's so well known for. He's a kind of witty detective that goes off and solves this mystery in the first one, and now he is traveling over to Greece to solve a mystery. He's detective for hire. I don't know too much about the movie because when new movies come out, I try not to learn as much as I can beforehand. I want the movie to surprise me, especially mystery movies like this. But there was a fun twist in the first one, and I'm expecting similar things out of this one. Ethan Hawke is attached to it. Jessica Heinwick is attached to it, and then in addition to them two, Edward Norton is going to be playing a role of Miles Braun, which that's cool because he's going to be, this kind of possibly his like comeback tour into Hollywood. So I'm excited to see how he plays, or how his character develops in this movie. Dave Bautista is in there as well, so there's a high caliber of actors cast for this role. The only thing I'm worried about is the movie is now an entity of Netflix.
I think we just have to temper our expectations with Netflix because we know things are a little bit different in regards to budgeting and shooting on a streaming service as opposed to a major blockbuster film is a little different. I think I had my expectations set a little bit too high for films like The Gray Man because of the caliber of actors that are attached on like to this one because we keep getting
And
these amazing
directors.
actors. Yeah. Yeah, the Russo brothers. Yeah, we keep getting these incredible people moving into streaming, but they're still faced with limitation in some sense as to what they can do on that platform. It's a little bit different. So I think it's just about expectation. But I mean, we know Netflix when it's proven has the money. We've seen Stranger Things season 4
Hmm.
put millions, like I think $25 million an episode into the series.
Yeah,
So
they can make great things.
yeah,
Uh,
I'm a big fan. I love the old guard. I think they can make really good movies. So hopefully this
yeah.
is one of their success stories.
The worry for me is that we already have expectations going into this one because we've seen the first movie that wasn't attached to Netflix.
Changes things.
So I'm curious to see how they carry this into the sequel. So that's the second thing I'm looking most forward to. Now the last thing that we're going to talk about, kind of in depth, is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Yes, this movie I am very excited for, and it hurts that we have to wait so long because Across the Spider Verse is coming out on June 2nd, 2023, and then we're going to get the sequel to it. So this is going to be part one, and we're going to get the following movie in March of 2024. So at least they already have movies slated, stuff to be excited for, but we do have to wait a while for this one. I think everyone that I can think of, who I would know at least, who's seen Into the Spider Verse, is excited for this movie. Is excited to see these characters return and reprise their roles. Shameik Moore is returning as Miles Morales. Jake Johnson is Peter B. Parker. Haley Steinfeld is going to be returning as Gwen Stacy or Spider Gwen, and then we're also going to get Brian Tyree Hill returning to voice Miles' father. So we're going to be getting all of these actors back, but we're also getting some awesome new members to the cast. We're going to be getting Miguel O'Hara,
What?
otherwise, sorry,
No.
he's Miguel O'Hara, otherwise known as Spider-Man 20 from 2099,
Let's
is going to
go.
be voiced by Oscar Isaac, who we just got a little tease of at the end of the first Spider-Man. That is so exciting. I mean, we love Oscar Isaac, so we're excited to see him come and do another part in Marvel other than Moon Knight. This is awesome news that he's going to have a big role to play in this. Now, we're also going to get new characters. Spider Woman, she'll be voiced by Issa Rae, and we're going to be getting our new villain, which I don't know if you know this already, but our villain is the Spot, who will be voiced by Schwartzman, by Jason Schwartzman. So the Spot is a character who is very interesting. His power kind of ties in with this interdimensional aspect that we deal with in the Spider Verse series. He in the comics was working for Wilson Fisk, attempting to recreate a villain named Cloak's powers and open up portals. So he opens up a portal and ends up trapped inside it and then ends up getting out. When he returns, he has this altered appearance where he is all white with all these black spots on his body. And the Spot is able to open up portals to travel not only from one location to another, but across dimensions. So this ties directly in with the central theme of the interdimensional and alternate realities that we see in Spider-Verse, and I think is going to be a great villain for this story. We have a lot to unpack moving into two parts of movies. So what are you excited to see?
Well, it's been 5 years since we're getting a new one, so I'm just excited to see all of it, and I'm excited that we'll only have to wait for 1 year afterwards to get the third one. But I'd imagine a movie like this takes forever to make.
They must be working really hard animating it because the art style is so amazing. We know the animation is going to probably hold up to the quality of the previous movie, so it's going to be lots of man hours in designing it.
Yeah. Um, that kind of wraps it up for the main projects that we're excited for. We have a few honorable mentions that we want to kind of brush over. Uh, Starting for me with Loki 2. Um, and the reason why I want to talk about this real quick is because there's some rumors going around. What are they?
The rumor that we have heard is that Henry Cavill may be cast in Loki season 2, and he may be portraying Hyperion. So is it a rumor that he's cast, or is it just a rumor that he's cast as Hyperion? But
I think it's a rumor that he's going to be cast as Hyperion.
okay, so hopefully we're getting confirmation that he is going to be in the show, which would be great regardless. But
Hmm.
it'd be so cool to see him cast as Hyperion. Hyperion is this really awesome, powerful character in the comics, and
He's basically Marvel's version of Superman.
which would be
It's
great.
almost identical.
Now you know a little bit about some of his feats in the comics.
Just from like what I've looked up, but he seems to be kind of an indestructible man who uh, kind of comes from the Eternals, and yeah,
He at one point, I believe he lifts Atlantis out of the ocean, a
yes,
huge physical feat. So I think Henry Cavill will be great for this role if that's what it's going to be. But it would also just be kind of tongue in cheek to see him stepping away from DC and then coming into MCU as
it'd
this
be kind
powerhouse.
of Marvel slapping DC in the face, like, hey, if you're not gonna capitalize on this guy as Superman, we are.
He's a resource.
Yeah.
He's an untapped resource right now.
Um.
If you just watched our last episode on Monday about our best fight scenes, you know that we love this guy.
Yeah, for sure. Any other mentions for you, real quick?
I would say that I'm really excited for Saga. If anybody out there can tell me more information about Saga, I'm having trouble researching what's going on, but it looks like they came back from their hiatus and did maybe 15 or so issues and it's kind of stalled. That's from what I can tell. I'm excited for the story to come to its fruition. I want to see a second omnibus come out because that's how I prefer to read these stories, but I'm just excited to see where it goes. And I want to understand more about what's going on, but I don't want to start reading it until the arc is complete so I can read it in its entirety.
Yeah, that's a good one. I'm just kidding. I have a hard time reading Saga. I don't
It
know. It's just a little slower for me.
Saga is this awesome story for those that haven't started it. I think it's a great place to start in reading comics because it's outside of superheroes and it's this awesome space opera, intergalactic war, kind of similar to Star Wars in terms of the scale of the universe and in terms of the intergalactic wars, but not in terms of the plot.
I think the story is great. I think I just personally lost momentum because I took too long
Yeah.
in
The,
between reading it to where now it's like I'm stalled, but it was good. So I will like to continue reading it, but I kind of want the second omnibus to be my motivation,
that's why they need to put it out. But
They do.
the story, I just want to say really quickly, because I want people to read the story. I want to inspire them with a quick snippet of the story.
Let's hear it.
So it is a Romeo and Juliet story between people on warring worlds, and they have a child together in the very beginning of the story. And the story is beautiful because it's about the futility of war and the power of love and the benefits of pacifism, but it's about this couple that is constantly faced with obstacles that challenges their pacifism. So we do get to see actions and fights in the story, and I would definitely recommend reading it if you're looking for something fun, exciting, with great art that also has meaningful themes.
Some of the other projects I'm looking forward to is Avatar: The Way of the Water.
It's going to be an awesome film.
That comes out December 16th of this year.
We're gonna have to rewatch the original and then maybe do an episode on it prior
Yeah,
to the
right now they have released Avatar back into theaters, and you can't watch it on Disney Plus. They
sneaky
took it off.
sneaky. We'll have to
Yeah.
go to theater.
I actually just watched Avatar not that long ago. It's good, obviously.
Groundbreaking special effects. The way that they CGI water was definitely groundbreaking at the time.
Yeah, and it holds up today too, for sure. But I'm excited to see the impact that this movie has on the box office, and then also how the audience takes in this movie. Since the first one kind of blew everything out of the water.
He had like $1
I'm
billion.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how this one plays out. Another one that I'm excited for is the Edge of Tomorrow sequel with Tom Cruise. I believe it's going to be titled Live, Die, Repeat, and Repeat. That was a fun movie where Tom Cruise is basically in a time loop trying to solve a problem or whatever, and he kind of is reliving the day over and over and over again. Hence the tagline Live, Die, Repeat. Something else that we're looking forward to is Blade and Deadpool 3, both in the MCU. I'm excited to see how Marvel kind of handles those two characters. I haven't seen the original Blades yet. I know Andrew has, and that he's excited for that one to come out, and we both like Daredevil or Darepool, Deadpool.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Deadpool 3, I'm sure, is going to be great. I'm hoping they're going to stick to the R-rated nature, and I think they will. Probably just release it under the umbrella of Fox, and hopefully keep everything the way it is, because it's integral to the story and is part of what makes it so good.
Mm-hmm. Anything else?
That's all I got.
One more for me that I'm excited for is season 2 of Ginny and Georgia. A little bit different tone than what we normally talk about on this podcast. It's a little more of a drama. It's kind of based around teenage girl and her single mom, and it's a show that I enjoyed watching with my wife a lot, and we watched it super fast. So I'm excited to see the sequel to that season, but they keep pushing back the release date.
Keep you wanting more.
Yeah, they just keep pushing it back.
Oh, I have an extra honorable mention that I thought of.
All right.
I forgot to write down, which was I want to see Oppenheimer, which is going to be Christopher Nolan's new movie starring Cillian Murphy. And I love everything that Christopher Nolan does, so I'll be excited to watch that. Even if it's the worst movie, I will happily watch the whole thing in theaters. So I'm excited to see what he brings, because he always brings great practical effects and amazing filmmaking to the cinema.
All right, we had a nice, quick, short episode for you today. Thank you for everyone for listening and watching. We'd appreciate it if you rate us 5 stars on the podcast app. Give us a like, share, subscribe. Show your friends, tell your friends. Our last episode that came out on Monday was a fun debate that we did, where we did a fight scene draft, where we each draft scenes from different movies, shows, and comics to form a team. And we want our audience, you guys, to go and vote for who had the best team, the best roster.
Yeah. So go back and vote on that before time runs out. You're going to be able to vote in the comments. You'll be able to listen to the podcast on all our platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube, and just send us your vote of who you think had the best, and we'll tally them all together and talk about it the next chance we get.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening.
Have a good one.